Before we get started, I just want to say good evening. Welcome to our newest episode of the Student Alliance Speaker Series from Tigger House Foundation. Before we get into the topic, for our viewers at home, if you enjoy the content that we create here at Tigger House, please like and subscribe on YouTube. Be sure to look for the links on the buttons below. I think when they play this, they show the different buttons, and follow us on our social media platforms. Also, I apologize. I see that Matt did join in as well. Hi, Matt. How are you?
Hey, sorry. I was in the car.
Nice. Good to have you here. So I'd like to introduce our speaker for tonight. If I really talk to you about all the things that we know and love about her, I'll probably be here for about a half hour. So I'm just gonna let her do most of the talking, but I do wanna say for her professional career, Robin has been in the retail real estate industry for over 40 years. I didn't even realize that. Wow, you're really way too young for that.
I'm just going to say my kindergarten had a very progressive program.
Exactly. She worked at various companies. She started her own company called Fashion Retail Group in 2008. She was actually inducted into the Hall of Fame for her industry in 2016. Very exciting. She and her husband, John, are also so philanthropic in our community. I think if you look up the word philanthropy, their picture is there. They are on so many boards, including that of Tigger House Foundation, but also Count Basie Center for the Arts, Hackensack Meridian, Lunch Break, Open Heart Yoga, No Dogs Left Behind, Parents with a Plan. I've also been on so many committees with Robin, and for her, the rest of the time that I don't know how she has other free time, she has traveled all over the world. I know one of her major trips was to Rwanda, and I'm sure she's going to touch on that today. She's been involved with organizations like the Diane Fossey Gorilla Fund, the Monmouth County SPCA, Purr and Pooch. She is the mom to, I think, 4 fur babies. They're all, one's cuter than the next. So I'm not going to go on anymore because I know we're all anxious to hear from Robin. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know we're so anxious to hear what you want to say. So I am going to turn it over and let you have the floor.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. Honestly, John and I both feel it's not lost on us the opportunity we have to do the work we do. It took us a long time to get there. We both come from very humble households and beginnings. And so, you know, John, he didn't coin the phrase, but as he says, it's not often that you get to do God's work. And, you know, I will say that I get back so much more than I ever give by far. So we will talk about that a little today because I think, you know, being in service for others and for some less fortunate for whatever reason in life that they may be is just really one of the greatest joys that I pull. I truly believe that you meet the most interesting people who are out doing philanthropical work. So there's, you know, there's some selfishness to it because of what I get back from it. So first of all, I'll start a little bit on my career because that certainly is what gave us the opportunity to be as involved as we are in the, a lot of the not-for-profit work we do. So I grew up in Utah. I usually, when I'm on the East Coast now, say the Rockies, because what did you all think when I said Utah? Come on, just one of you, tell me what you thought. What would you ask me if I said I was from Utah? Are you
Are you a jazz fan?
Yeah, I am a jazz fan. I was a huge jazz fan. Karl Malone and John Stockton days. So I had courtside seats in the old Salt Palace, and they were, you know, it was really fun when they moved up from Nolens and came to Utah. So. And that's all we had. You know, we didn't have football. Well, I went to University of Utah, so BYU, don't like them at all. So yes, I grew up in really a very beautiful yet very restrictive as far as the atmosphere around me. Not so much in my household, but you know, people think that that means that you're not going to have any drug or alcohol issues. And I think at one time, and Utah's probably still right up there with drug addiction, alcoholism for, you know, teens, suicide, pregnancy, because unfortunately it's so restrictive that it's almost then the opposite. But I digress a little because I was lucky enough for many reasons not to maybe be as caught up in that. But so I grew up there, went to University of Utah, and really stumbled into my career. And that's the truth. I never knew there was a business behind shopping centers. We went to the mall. And, you know, this was back long before any of you were born, in the late 70s. And someone came to me, I was going to school for business and with, an associate's in marketing. So I was offered a position as a marketing intern on a mall and really forged a 40+ year career in different facets of the industry. It is a business that if you work hard, can pay well and be lucrative. And I would say there were many years in my career when 60, 70-hour weeks were the norm. It was just a very energized. I truly believe if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I truly feel like, I don't have a job. I had a career and a profession that I just loved. It's changed a lot and I changed with it. Like anything, if you do not have flexibility in life, it's going to be a lot harder than if you learn to maybe go with the flow sometimes and make some changes. If you've never read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? It's a great book that talks about change in life and in your career and how you can adapt to that as opposed to maybe always fighting it. So I started out as a marketing intern and from there I had an opportunity to go to work with a big developer. I went into operations and from there went into development and construction, worked on the owner landlord side of the business for the first 20 years of my career. And, also got lucky. I was in an industry that forged a new part of the industry in the outlet sector. So anytime you get in on the ground floor of any type of business or industry, and again, you're working hard and putting a lot into it, can give you the opportunity to later in life do other things. And really, both my husband and I, we met on a construction site. I had two rules: no married men and no one in the business, but I broke the better of the two. And we'll be celebrating our 22nd wedding anniversary. We got married a little later in life and met about 30 years ago. And it was 30 years ago on a construction site. And at the time I was in Colorado, I left and went to Colorado in the late 80s to take over some shopping centers that went into bankruptcy. And in 1992, I went to work for a developer in the outlet industry, opened several shopping centers, and did a lot of their leasing with fashion brands, and then went to work, for those of you who know sports, and I think, Michael, you just mentioned the Utah Jazz, you probably know Roger Staubach, the name. Roger, for as well known as he was in football, he's with the Dallas Cowboys, a Heisman Trophy winner, truly an amazing man. He started a real estate firm, and September 10th of 2001, was my first day with that firm. And as we all know, the next day, the world turned upside down. And it was probably at that time a great opportunity to reach out to all my clients and friends just to see who was safe and doing okay after, you know, one of the most horrific events in the history of our, you know, certainly our country, or the world for that matter. So I was with Roger's firm, Staubach Real Estate, running their retail group nationally for about 7 years. And then in 2008, just decided to run a small boutique firm, work with the clients that I'd known and worked for, you know, all of my career. And it was fabulous. I mean, I opened all the Sony stores when Sony did a store rollout. That was a big account and firm. You know, I would say really when I look back at my career and what I've done, I mean, everyone has homework, right? That's not going to stop with high school. It's not going to stop with when you get out of college. I have found that doing my homework, whether it's was going to a new company, learning about them before I went, my clients, you know, if you have customers, doing your homework and being prepared is going to make every walk of life and certainly in your career a lot easier. So just know that that prep work is very important. I truly got 2 jobs based on just calling to find out about the company, and this was long before Google and the internet. We had to learn the old-fashioned way, and I literally picked up the phone and called and said, "Do you have a pamphlet about your company?" And out of over 100 applicants who were applying for a mall position at the time, this was 1982, 83, as developers diversified, and the gentleman who happened to pick up the phone just remembered my name, and then I made that call. And nobody else did. No, he said, "I just remembered that all throughout the process of interviews, somebody took some extra time to find out what our company was about." So, you know, career-wise, it has, you know, it is an industry that you can do different things, you know, from operations, development, construction, into leasing, which is really where I ended the last 20 years of it. And I've pivoted a little into health and wellness community within that. I did that before COVID, but our industry has been changing a lot. When I say the retail industry, as many of you know, if you shop online, it doesn't mean brick and mortar is going to go away, but it's going to change, and it is changing. And this last year has even proven more so, because people have realized that there are certainly conveniences, and brands and stores are realizing that if you are not a multi-level platform or multi-diverse, you probably will not survive. So as far as my career, it's I just feel like I've been very lucky. You know, although I've worked hard, timing is everything. And I felt like the timing was right. I certainly had some challenges. I went into a very male-dominated industry early in you know, my career. In the early 80s, real estate and retail was horrific. But you know, what's amazing is if you start out new in an industry, you don't know bad from good. So I didn't know how bad was. And what it actually did was gave me opportunities out in the field that I would have never had things been going really well. So I have always felt that my best times of growth have come through challenging times in my life, and certainly with my career, that proves so. So, you know, I wanted to talk obviously about my career and what kind of got me where I am, that to have the opportunity to give service back, to be involved with things that I hope, if not, you know, one of my favorite quotes, it's on my email, I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. And I have never felt it was a sacrifice. I've never felt that, you know, there was something I gave up in order to give. And as I said, I have gotten so much more back. I can talk about a couple of life experiences, and I do want to speak about some of the not-for-profits that we're involved with and why. But I will back up a little bit because this is a group that works, you're all on the teen board of an amazing foundation that works with people with addictions. And certainly in my lifetime, I've seen that within my family, within close friends. And for my path, I chose for a couple of different reasons, not to drink, not to do drugs, not that I wasn't around it and had not tried a couple of things. In the late 70s and early 80s, you know, we certainly had maybe some kids in school who were smoking pot, but cocaine came out big at that time. And I remember thinking, first of all, I'm already pretty hyper. And I thought, why would I spend money on something that, you know, that's a pair of jeans, that's a pair of sneakers, that's, you know, a night out at the movies. It was just something that for me didn't hold much interest. I didn't like the taste of alcohol, thank goodness. And I was also a gymnast, and my coach was extremely tough on anyone showing up the next day hungover. And I saw that. I thought, you know, within 10 minutes, they were over getting sick on the, you know, side of the gym. And I thought, I really don't want that experience in my morning. And I don't know, that's not for everyone. That was, there's a difference between being an anti-drinker and a non-drinker. I'm a non-drinker. I don't like the taste of wine. Good wine is wasted on me. There is a part of me that I feel like I have a fairly addictive personality, and it's probably just best to take that path. It saved me many a morning when I saw my friends who maybe had a little too much the night before. I'm the first one out on the lake. I was the first one out on the ski slopes. And, you know, there's a difference between maybe having a couple of glasses of wine at dinner or a cocktail with some friends and thinking that your evening has to be, you know, to the point where you can't walk out or drive when the night's over. And again, I truly do not want to preach or be on a soapbox. It's just what worked for me. I had our group kicked out of a bar, not saying that was a good thing. But it's, you know, I was having a great time and someone put their hands on my sister and I shoved them and it started a rumble. And 2 years later, a friend of mine who wanted to know if he could get me a drink. And I said, sure, I'll have an iced tea. And he said, ooh, those Long Island iced teas will get you. And I said, no, just mean iced tea, like a tea. And he said, oh, did you quit drinking? And I said, Alan, I've never drank. He said, you got us kicked out of the club. And I'm like, sober as a church mouse. So it never took away from my experience. I always had a great time. I tease that I get a contact high off others. And it was a choice for me. My mom's brothers, my mom was in between her older brother, my Uncle Ross, her younger brother, my Uncle Grant. My Uncle Ross was an alcoholic. He would disappear. I mean, his wife would call my mom, you know, if you've seen your brother, he would disappear for a week. My Uncle Ross or my Uncle Grant, after an injury, a sports injury, got addicted to painkillers and had a long, hard life of addiction. So seeing that just through my eyes gave me the decision. I made the decision, it was probably just best for me to take a different path. And I think anything that you do, if it's to enhance a mood, maybe just, it's one thing if you like the taste of having a cocktail, a beer, whatever, but if it's, to change your mood, maybe a discussion needs to be had with someone, not a psychiatrist, not a clinical doctor, just speaking to my life experiences and what worked for me. And my husband says, can you imagine her on alcohol? That's probably the best way to say why I just stayed away from that. I guess I'll share a quick story on that note. The hardest thing I went through in life, my parents were in a car accident that took my mother and injured my father. This was about 15 years ago. It was obviously very difficult. We have a very close family, thank goodness. And it did certainly make me step back and think, what do people do who go through trauma like this without family or close friends? And sometimes that's when they turn to other things. I do remember the day of the service thinking, I'm not going to make it through the day. And my uncle gave me a Valium. And personally, I don't know how people, I'm not, again, not anti-prescription drug for people who need certain things. For me, my first thought was, oh, this is how I'm going to get through the rest of my life. And thinking I'll just pop one of these every day and numb myself. And I remember my husband was not so pleased that my uncle gave it to me. It got me through the day, but it made me stop very shortly and realize that as bad as the pain was, that's not where I was going to live my life, being numb. So again, that was just a life lesson that made me realize, and I had strong family around me. I had a husband who was amazing as my foundation to get through something like that. My mother was the person who always said, you pull something, like everything that happens, you can pull something good from. And I would say what I pulled good from that was knowing that my mother now sees everything I do. And when I'm petty about something or I react to something, I stop and go, she sees that. So I try to correct myself. And again, I know my shortcomings, and pettiness is one of them. I can fly off the handle when I think something should not even be on my radar screen. But I try to channel her in that. The other thing that has been a great life experience for me with my not-for-profit work is, when I think I'm having a bad day, all I have to do is think about many of the people that I've had the true pleasure and opportunity to be around, and the bad days that they've had and where their life is. And one of the most profound was on our first trip to Rwanda to go gorilla trekking. We had a great opportunity to meet up with Jack and Susie Hanna, amazing, amazing couple. If any of you know Jungle Jack Hanna, some unfortunate news about his health recently, but an amazing man. And really in animal rescue, wildlife rescue, that, to rescue the animals, you have to first help the people. And that's nothing truer than when you look at Africa and certainly Rwanda. Many of you know the story of Rwanda through Hotel Rwanda. That genocide happened in my lifetime and not far off your lifetime. It's 25 years ago, and horrific events. 1 million people slaughtered in less than 90 days. And people who really were living, maybe not in harmony, but living together, and through some just bad politics and colonization really created a horrible atmosphere. So going over there to support a school and community center and trek the gorillas and support wildlife. Mountain gorillas were almost wiped out of extinction, and Diane Fossey truly single-handedly brought that majestic animal back. I mean, there are only 1,000 or 1,200. I think with the babies we've had this last year, we might be not quite at 1,100. They only live in the Virunga Mountains, which are Rwanda, Uganda, and the Congo. And we've had the privilege to do 6 gorilla treks. If you want to save up your nickels and dimes and have an absolutely amazing experience, I would say twofold: going over to see this amazing country and its people, Rwanda, and then having the opportunity to trek next to one of the most majestic animals. And when I say next to, I can show you video, pictures. I mean, they are right there. And I'm going to apologize. My office is a block from your Tigger House offices next to the train track. So And unfortunately, you might hear the train every now and then. So we met an amazing gentleman. His name is Frederick. He actually came and spoke, I want to say 2 years ago now, or it will be 2 years in the fall at Dakota School. I know Jaden's on mute. The junior high in Rumson, brain freeze. Is it,
RFH.
I'm sorry?
RFH? Rumson
No, but the
Fairhaven?
junior high. So we spoke, and he spoke in front of a group of 7th graders.
Forestdale.
We had 100 plus 13-year-olds in that room. You could have dropped a pen, people listening to Frederick's story. He has a book that I would be happy to send to anyone and share called Frederick. At 15 years old, he was pulled off a bus, told to take everyone off the bus and kill them. In a 30-second Reader's Digest, the genocide was the Hutus basically annihilating the Tutsis. You had about 85% of a population, 13% of a population, and it was a pretty horrific event back, started in April of 1995. This was 3 years later. Frederick is a Hutu. Now everyone's Rwandan. There are no Hutu, Tutsis. Everyone is just part of the people of one country. There were still some marauding troops after they stopped the genocide who were out there, pulled him off a bus with 19 people, put a machete in his hand and said, kill all these people. He said, my God will not allow me to do that. Kill me first. They proceeded to beat him, tie him up, killed everyone in front of him, and then cut off both of his hands. The only thing that saved him was that they tied his arms together and that acted as a tourniquet. So this 15-year-old, after spending 6 months in the hospital in a coma and on the brink of death, it comes out of it with not a lot of memory. He said, I couldn't even beg because I couldn't pick up a head of lettuce. And he said, he wanted to die. And he thought there must be some reason that my God, I have to tell you, the faith of these people, I'm in awe of it because it truly is when you step back and look what God, many of them through this horrific experience, this horrific time in life. So he met another individual a couple of years later at the orphanage. And they went on, it's a lot of, again, I'm going to send you his book because it's an amazing story, to found a community center and school. When you look at Frederick, he is smiling the entire time he speaks, and you look at him, his attitude, he's now married with 2 children. They have over 1,000 kids and adults at the school and community center. Many, I think 22 or 25% have some impairment. The first time I pulled up to the community center, there were a bunch of kids lying on the asphalt with a ball rolling between them. Well, they were blind and they were playing dodgeball. And they could hear, they had like little beans in the ball so they could hear it. And they were having the best time of their lives. So Frederick has been someone in my life that if I think I have a challenge or feeling a little bad for myself because I think I've had a bad day, it's very quick to think of him and what he's gone through and where he is in life and think, yeah, I'm really not having a bad day. I could share animal rescue stories with you. Our Buddha came from China, the illegal dog meat trade there. Jaden is on the call, her 2 little beautiful babies, Moose and Maddie. The day before I left on my first mission there, they were left at the gate of the sanctuary, pulled off a truck by the activists before they had a terrible, cruel fate of being tortured and then eaten. And again, my Buddha was pulled off a truck with 1,300 dogs shoved into cages. We're headed down to the Yulin festival. Brave Chinese activists stopped those trucks, pulled them off. This little creature should hate people. He should He should not be smiling. He should not be wagging his tail. He should not be one of the happiest dogs that I've ever been around. And it took a while. He was very shy. He was very untrustworthy. He did not, or distrustful. And we've had him, excuse me, almost 2 years now. And again, I just look over at him and see that head up and that tail up and his confidence and happiness, and think, this is an animal that should shun people, because he saw the worst of humanity and yet gravitated towards the best. And, just every one of these opportunities that we've had in life have just been amazing lessons to me. And, for everything I do just makes me want to do a little bit more and a little bit more. And I'm so grateful and thankful for the people in my life who along the way helped me succeed. I do not like to hear, not that I don't like to hear it, John and I make it very much not about us, because it's not. You meet amazing people, like right here within the Tigger House organization. We moved down to this community from New York. We were here part-time for many years because we met people over at lunch break and saw that organization and what they were doing, and got more involved with the community and said, of course we want to be here. Why wouldn't we? They're just amazing people. And I've also had the opportunity to live elsewhere and travel. And each one of you should take that opportunity. This is a great place, whether or not you choose this to be the final place where you stay and live. But getting out in the world, it can be on a Euro pass with a backpack, as we will be able to travel again here in a few months safely. People say, oh, you've been to Africa, is that safe? Or, oh my gosh, you went to China. It's amazing when you get out and do some traveling, you find that people are people, and you have good people in the world, and you have people who, for whatever, you just have some evil people. We'll just put those aside. There just are, and you make sure you do not, get in that energy and around them. But you just have some people who through life, for whatever reason, maybe they're just misunderstood or unhappy. And it's amazing with an introduction, a discussion, how quickly what you think is a bridge or divide is quickly, you suddenly have a new friend. My husband and I have Harley motorcycles. And I say there are people who ride Harleys, and then there are Harley people. We just ride Harleys. But we have met somebody that, for whatever reason, if I were on a ferry and they were on the boat as well, we might not meet up and speak because you think you don't have anything in common. And suddenly you pull on a motorcycle and they're on a motorcycle, and your walks of life could be completely different. And you start speaking and you realize that we're just all human beings. We all have experiences in life, and it's fun. It's just so enlightening to meet new people every day and hear their thoughts and what they're doing in life. And again, I am where I am for no other reason than great support I had, great people around me. I'm like a sponge. And let me tell you, every one of you, I will learn. If I spend an hour with you, I would learn more from you than you're ever going to learn from me. And I love that. And you are the world changers. You're going to fix what we've messed up. I truly believe that your passion, your experiences that you have right now that are shaping you are going to fix a lot of the things that need fixed. So that's about all I have. And I truly want to hear from you. There's no question that you cannot ask me. So.
Yeah, guys, no, you must have questions. That was so amazing.
is there anything in specific that got you involved with working with animals, or did you always have a passion for them?
Yeah, I always had a passion, but yes, many years ago, pot-bellied pigs became a craze. Everyone wanted a pot-bellied pig. Unfortunately, people thought pot-bellied pigs were going to stay either the micro pigs or stay small. And as happens with a lot of things, you have some dubious people out there, and pot-bellied pigs became 200 and 300 pound pigs. So in Denver, I volunteered at an animal shelter that a lot of these, that had a lot of pigs coming back to it, like a farm sanctuary. And, you know, I always loved elephants. I mean, if elephants could speak, they would be running the world. They're probably the smartest, you know, elephants or whales, I'm not sure which are, or mountain gorillas. They are so intelligent and so compassionate. And so, you know, I kind of gravitated towards animals, but, you know, I'll tell you, in animal rescue, you meet a lot of people who say, I hate people. And you see a lot of horrific things. And I thought, well, I don't hate people, because this has allowed me to meet so many other people who are involved doing the same thing. And I always say, you know, it's kind of a known fact. I work a lot in demographics and analytical information, that 10% of the population is going to be bad. So if you have 100,000 people, you know, 10,000 people are running around that probably aren't the best people, doing bad things. And then you have some really horrific things that happen, whether it's animal abuse, you know, child abuse, just things that are pretty horrific. For that one person who does that act, it can take 100, 500 good people to fix that damage. So, you know, in animal rescue, it, you know, you have to be, you can't save them all. And you just have to go with the mindset that for each one you save is one saved. There's a great book called Strangers Drowning, about people who work in animal rescue, but any not-for-profit, that you do have to be a little careful when you're working around any cause, to not get overwhelmed by thinking, you know, this is all bad, because there's so much good in it. And sometimes you might have to step back from it to not feel that despair. And I will say, I think sometimes animals, particularly when we're looking at wildlife, that people think that doesn't really have anything to do with me. John and I both believe in balance in this world. We've been asked, why go save dogs in China when dogs need saved here? And I'm like, well, actually, we're very involved with saving dogs here. And then I asked them, what are some of the things you're involved with? Are you only involved with your school or your church or synagogue or community center where you live? Because the day that you step off your street, what does it matter if it's you stepped off your street, out of your state, out of your country? Balance, you know, balance in this earth, whether it's animals, whether it's a school in Rwanda, you know, an animal shelter in Monmouth County, you know, a soup kitchen in Red Bank, you know, balance in this world. You know, there are needs everywhere. And just because you help in one area doesn't mean that you're taking away from something else. And Carla can speak to that. We have so many not-for-profits in this community. And when you look at percentages of population and what people give, we're truly one of the top communities in the country of our philanthropical work and giving. And it you know, it doesn't have to be at, you know, the risk of taking from something else. So.
Robin, I really like what you just said about, you know, one saved is one saved. That's huge. And we often hear so much about the overdose rate. But one day I sat down and I thought, you know what? Let's think about the people that are reaching out, more around the statistics of those that are getting help, those that are in recovery. Those stats are not often released. I think because it's so hard to capture that data of people who are coming in and completing treatment, getting help, and phasing back out into the world, into life, getting back into work. We never hear 2,500, you don't graduate from treatment, but have been phased back into life and they're doing well. You don't often hear that. So, I'm an extremely positive person, and that's how I have to look at that. Yes, it's very important to focus on overdosing, because that's why we're here, to spread awareness and to help hopefully lower those numbers. But it's just, you can't save everyone, and you can only give someone so many resources. And I've learned that I can't work harder for the person who is living with addiction or struggling than they are to get help. So it's a lot. I totally understand.
I can't imagine. I do get angry sometimes when somebody's, and a friend of mine who is an alcoholic explained it. He said, I can sit at this table with everyone having a drink, and most people here will have a drink or two and they stop, or they get drunk for the night, but there's a stopping point. He said, I start drinking, there is no stop, there's no stopper. He said, it's hard to explain. He's an alcoholic. He has an addiction that he said, and he's been sober now for over 10 years, and on and off. It took him a while, but he said, I start drinking and there's just no thought of a stop, not a conscious effort that I'm going to have 5 drinks or 10 drinks or drink until I pass out. And, I often say, I just cannot imagine that struggle of living with an addiction. I like caffeine. As I drink my soy green tea latte this evening. I gave it up one year for Lent, and in 2 days I had a headache. And I just usually drink a cup of coffee in the morning and then heat it up throughout the day. But I will go in and get a, quad drink. And my husband's like, oh my God, you're going to fly into your office like a 747. And I'm like, I'm hyper whether I have the drink or not. But almost psychological, like I was drinking decaf. And then on the 3rd day and the headache, my body was like, wait a minute. Yeah. And I thought, what must it be like to live with an addiction? I mean, it just must be every single day, that challenge. And it's why I appreciate organizations like Tigger House. And again, what our teen board is doing, because I truly believe when people talk about peer pressure, I get it. I mean, I never felt left out of anything I was doing as a kid as my friends were drinking. I was always the designated driver, which honestly, I think made them drink more. So maybe it's a bit of an enabler. But I never felt left out. And I thought, well, let's make the peer pressure the positive of being there for someone who has a true addiction. And I'm not talking about someone who goes out on a Friday night and gets drunk and then might go another month before they do that, or smokes a joint, or whatever it is that they do that's in moderation, because they don't have that addiction where it's going to most likely ruin their life. And I just thought they need so much support. I just can't imagine what that struggle must be.
There's just so many stories of success, though, that are being shared now, which is kind of what we need to focus on, but there is so much work to do as well.
So again, I'm here to answer questions, but I have a couple, and I'd like to hear from each of you on either one of these. Obviously, right now, you're doing, work in a not-for-profit by being involved with Tigger House. But tell me 1 or 2 other experiences that you've had with a not-for-profit and why, or if there's a passion you have, whether it's climate or animal or kids, education. I'd just like to hear from each of you. So who wants to go first? Because I'm just going to pick someone if you don't. And I know Robert, so I'm just going to have to pick on him.
Okay, so sorry you can't see me. My light doesn't work, so
I can see you.
Oh, okay, good. So I guess the most interactive with the non-for-profit besides Tigger House is something kind of related, so I guess that's kind of cheating, but I did my Eagle Scout project at a rehab center that Nick from Tigger House works at. And it's not affiliated with Tigger House, but I got his contact through Tigger House and then he introduced me to it, and it was a really awesome way to help others. I found it so rewarding, especially when I got to go back and I had to like make edits to I made benches and flower beds as like a place for them to come out and gather. Just because it was like pretty barren before, and I just wanted it to be like kind of a sanctuary. And I saw all of them using it, and they were like really grateful, and it was a really awesome moment. So, yeah.
That is great. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, is that Ella?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Something rewarding, I guess you could say. Well, for RBC Cheer, we work with like the Shamrocks, which is like a group of like autistic kids, which we like teach dances and like cheers to them. And like for me, dancing is like a really important thing to me. And it's like really helpful for like emotions and stuff. And I thought that was really rewarding to help them, and just teach them dances and stuff. Just something
That's great to hear. So we have a wellness and nutrition program that we're working on at lunch break. And Tracy Stewart, John Stewart's wife, they have a not-for-profit called Hcoxon Farm. And the focus is on plant-based. I'm vegan and plant-based. A lot of that comes from obviously my animal rescue work. But we're going to have an event in June just based on a challenge that we did. And we said we want to have some sort of dance, that either have a dance teacher come in and we just follow it, because movement, and we just felt health and wellness, whether it's yoga, Pilates, riding a bike, surfing, a paddleboard, but we all focused on dance because we thought that's something we could all do. You hear music and it just makes you happy. So thanks for sharing that. Just kind of reiterated what we thought. So Dan.
So this past weekend, actually, I was volunteering with an organization called Dermer's Dreamers. A lot of people may have heard of them. They're based in Fairhaven, and they do, I think twice a year, they do food drives where they have volunteers from local schools, and we go and drop off bags at people's houses, and we like talk to them at the door and ask them if they're available to fill up the bags with like non-perishable food items. And then I went back, I did this 2 weeks ago or 2 weekends ago, and then I went on Saturday and I picked up all the bags from the houses. I dropped off 100 and I got close to 100 back because a lot of people filled up extra bags, so it kind of made up for other houses. And then I went and I dropped those off in Fairhaven, and that was an awesome experience because I went out and it was a beautiful day, and I just did it by myself. I got in my car and I just drove around, and I loved like talking to people at their door a couple weekends ago and just having conversations with people who wanted to talk to me about service and my time at CBA and everything. So I thought that was a really fun kind of way to get out there in the community.
Well, I am so happy you shared that. Talk about 1 degree of separation. So I'm on the board at lunch break, and guess where those bags went?
Yeah, they go to lunch break. Yeah.
We are so thankful. I actually took my friend who's a healthcare worker for a spa day Saturday, or I typically work those. And we put out the call to volunteers to come help us get those bags off. They said, you have to be able to lift 50 pounds. And it was such a great day. So thank you so much. I cannot believe you're on this call to thank you and the group that did that. And let me tell you, I'm over there 5 days a week, picking up meals to take out. And you see people pulling up to the pantry. This past year, our giving has increased tenfold of people's needs. And I'll tell you, most of the people who come into lunch break, well, before COVID and certain, jobs may have been lost, work 1 or 2 jobs, but just the cost of things, medical bills and other things, the need is there. And we love, as soon as you said it, I thought, oh my gosh, I cannot believe he was part of that. So thank you so much for that. And I'll tell you, it's needed and will go to great use. So thank you. Okay, so who else is out there? Matt?
Hey, so
Hi.
I really enjoyed what you had to say, and I've liked getting to know you. You seem like such a nice person. I am involved in a nonprofit called Go Green Moco. I think everyone here should join. It's about climate crisis, like pollution, all that. And my friend started it, and we do beach sweeps, and I was there 2 weeks ago, and nothing like extraordinary happened. I don't have like a cool story, but
What's a
it
cool story in
I
itself?
I agree with what you said about the reward that you get. Like it's a little selfish almost, because like it's self-gratifying in a way, but anything, because anything to help makes an impact. Like we're all here on this planet and we're all effing it up, and we should do whatever we
Some
can.
of us, some generations worse than others, I will say.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear more about it. I'm just going to say this blanket wise to the crowd and mean it sincerely. Carla has my contact information. I'm president of Open Heart Yoga, which is right next door, which by the way, you guys are all welcome at any time you want to come over and take a class. We're going to start our outdoor yoga series, but I would love to hear more about it. And anyone who's in this area right now, if in the last couple of weeks you have smelled a stench like rotting fish, you have smelled rotting fish. We have bacteria, and people say, oh, this happens every year. Nothing like what we just saw, and it was horrific. And literally dead fish, like, you know, just feet wide in our beautiful, pristine rivers right here. So if anything, and let me tell you what happens after we kill the ocean. Just guess who's next, you know? So I would really love to hear more about that and be out there sweeping the beaches with you and helping support. So Caroline?
Hi, so I also helped with the Dermer Dreams. I went around this neighborhood in Middletown and I put all the bags down, and then I think it was like a week after, then I picked them all up, me and my friend, and we went over and we had like about like 75 bags of food, and it felt really good to just like see everyone there and like how much food was there. Like I felt like I was making a big impact. So
Well, again, thank you. It did make a big impact. And we brought in a lot of food. 2 weeks ago, I was there on a Saturday when we had a clothing drive and Easter baskets. And I mean, you ever want to see an Easter basket and these little kids, and they look up at you, and we let them take one that had candy and then one that had like games and stuff. And to see the look on their face when they realized they could grab two. Again, you know, as Matt just said, it's something that you walk away just knowing that that little thing just made, you know, was a big thing to somebody else. And, you know, how many of us are in the hurry in the morning? I'm a breakfast girl because I drink coffee. And, you know, I always try to eat something for breakfast. And then sometimes I'll have my 10 o'clock snack. So then I eat lunch late. And maybe it's 2:30 in the afternoon. And I'm thinking, I've got a call, I can't eat yet. And you get a little pang of hunger. But I know within half an hour, I'm going to have something to eat. And I thought, can you imagine in our county, our country, children feeling that? But they don't know that they're going to get something to eat. And so thank you. What you guys did was amazing. Okay, it looks like is it Kira? Is it Kira?
Hi, I'm Kira, and
Hi,
yeah.
Kira.
Hi. I'm part of a nonprofit called Letters for Rose, and it's about like we write letters to a lot of forget like the term for it. It's like elderly homes, and it's like pen pals basically, but through like
senior living.
Yeah, senior homes. Yeah, and yeah, it's just like I'm not like one of the ambassadors for it, but I'm like one of the pen pals for like, you just write cards back and forth. And it's like, I feel like a really good thing, especially with COVID, when like a lot of people like in the senior homes can't see anyone.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. We, the meal delivery that we were doing was to shut in, well, still is, to shut in seniors. So certainly through COVID, they were at risk at coming out. But as important as leaving that meal for them each day was that interaction. And we had one of our gentlemen, Walter, Carla knows this because I was a blubbering fool. He passed away the week of Thanksgiving. He had an aneurysm. I mean, I was speaking to him Tuesday about Thanksgiving plans, and later that afternoon, he passed out and he passed away. And I thought, this is a gentleman I've known 6 months, but it just killed me. And I went to a service and I met his family. I'm still 4 months in helping his family clean out his condo, but met them and they said, he talked about lunch break and what you got. It was the interaction and the fact that every single day he knew he was going to see someone, his family, his sister and brother-in-law are in Long Island. Even pre-COVID, they said he was because of his health, he was kind of shut in. And we had a bunch of kids write notes that we put in the bags to the seniors, and they love that. So maybe that's something we could do, Kara. I know you're writing them to the seniors, but in their homes, but like 10 or 12 of them, we could slip in these lunch bags and take them to the seniors that we take meals. They loved it. So again, a follow-up there, because I think it's a great thing that we could do. That something that we think is nothing is so much more to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jaden, I know she had a hard time getting her mic going, but I know that she's the one who first told me about the teen board and what she was doing, she and Robert. And I just think it's amazing, because I think anytime we can bring, it hurts my heart for any child, tween, teen to think that your voice doesn't matter, or if somebody, just tells you, what do you know? You don't have experience. My gosh, I can't imagine anything better than just now how rewarding that was, from hearing from each of you and what you're out doing, and how important it is. And there's, I wasn't doing this at your age, and I wish I were. I think about when I first started, it was, well into my 20s. So I just love that each of you are out, not only doing what you're doing with Tigger House, but have another story to tell. And I'm sure, if we had time, you could tell many more. But I applaud each of you in what you're doing, and look forward to hearing more about it. Did I get to all of our teens?
I believe you did. I think you got everybody. And Robin, we'll as long as you're comfortable with it, we're going to share your contact information with everybody. We'll send an email.
I mean, you might see it like written on the side of the wall for a good time call, but don't do everything. That might not be the right number. But yes, you can give my email. You can give my phone number. I literally a block away if you're over at Tigger House. I'm right here in the community, and I do, Carla, want to hear more about the ambassador program.
Yes, well, definitely, we're going to bring you in and we'll tell you all about it. I do have to say, Robin, I am floored, because I did not know that all our amazing students did all these other things. And you know what, sometimes it's bad because we focus on Tigger House, and we know they're doing amazing work here. But, and I texted Amy while we were on, and Carly, and I'd love to you guys and get some of your fellow, the other fellow students, and really see what is the impact you have. You guys are powerful. I'm so impressed. So thank you for calling them out. I love it. I love it. This is really important stuff. We cannot thank you enough, because I think tonight was amazing to hear about you, and then how you engaged all of us to talk about and think about the work we do and our importance. So thank you.
Well, I want to thank you, the ambassadors who are on. Obviously, Christina, I had a great opportunity to spend some time with you. It was such a lovely Sunday, and we will definitely speak some more.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Robin, I just
on.
want to thank you. I am so inspired by all the work you're doing for the animals worldwide, you know, the nonprofits close to home here. It is just incredible. I'm blown away. And thank you so much for sharing today. And you're just inspiring, and your work in business as well is just incredible. So thank you. And I look forward to talking with you again soon. I'm just so moved by everything you had to say today.
That's very kind. Again, I have an amazing network around me. I just do. I'm like a little sponge. Everything I just think for a minute that it's not filling me up, because it is. And
I also want to share that I also gave up alcohol myself, and I do mocktails, which helps sometimes when I'm on vacation or something like that. And I also didn't like the taste either. And you know, in the beginning it was a little difficult because people around me drink, but I'm okay with that. And I'm just a non-drinker, like you said. I want people to have fun around me, and for me, it just makes me be the most productive person I can be not drinking. And so I love that you shared that. And I also don't eat meat. I love that you're a vegan. As I'm not a vegan, but I'm a pescatarian. So I think it's incredible giving up all that stuff as well. So I'm just so moved by everything you had to say, really.
well, these are very personal things. So when I speak to them, I never want it to, you know, listen, we say plant-based now because sometimes vegan, you know, I mean, look, I guess in anything you can have people who are a little overzealous. There's a great documentary called Game Changers. If you have not seen it, please watch it. You can find it on Netflix now. It is, it approaches plant-based from an athlete's point of view. I think the only part on animals was a guy who was like a mercenary and is out teaching the anti-poaching unit. So I have to tell you, we have a big Halloween party, and one year Carla, was you there that year? I was in camouflage and I had a gun and I had a thing that said anti-poaching unit. A couple of my friends are like, are you a hunter? I'm like, seriously? I mean, really? I said, anti-poaching unit. I'm hunting, but it's not the animals. So this gentleman is out there training the anti-poaching unit, who these brave rangers put their life on the line for these animals, because this is their home, you know, their motherland, right? And these animals. And listen, I'm not talking poaching of someone who's trying to feed their family. It's a whole different world out there of the poaching that's going on, and unfortunately funding some really bad things. Excuse me. So he said, I'm training these guys to save these majestic animals, and then I'm going home and eating a steak. And he said, so, you know, he just did his homework. And again, it took me a long time. I mean, I grew up on meat and potatoes, and food is very personal, but I will tell you, I could fix each of you an amazing meal. And unless I told you, you would never know that it was plant-based. So Netflix, and I'm going to tell you one more thing. If for any of you who may or may not have seen the Oscars, I was like watching them in the back of my room as I was working on other things. But when they came for a documentary feature, one of the sweetest, most amazing movies you will watch, documentary, is called My Teacher Octopus, or My Octopus Teacher. It is, I mean, you need a couple of tissues, but you talk about just an amazing feel good. And it's not just about the octopus, but the man and how broken he is and what he needed at that time in his life. And again, I love reference to books. I mean, if any of you have read a good book that you think I should see or read, you know, we didn't even touch on a lot of the things going on in our world out right now on equality. And again, you know, I hate to say kids, you young men and women are the ones that we're counting on to fix some of the things that we have done a disservice to you for. So, but yeah, that my teacher, my octopus teacher is amazing. It's just an amazing documentary. So did we get to hear from everyone? I know we did from the teen board. Carla, I know Beauty Ball. I mean, everyone knows you as Tigger House, but Beauty Ball is another, or Beauty Ball, excuse me, Beauty Foundation, amazing foundation that Carla works on, helping families who are battling cancer and need assistance. It's a great organization.
And actually, I met Michael Boulos, who's our ambassador, through that organization. He's always been a great volunteer. And then we're so fortunate to have him here. And I think the only other person is Michaela, who is also our ambassador.
Yes, Michaela.
Stuff too in the community. I know she's been taking yoga classes at Open Heart, so you will see her there.
Wonderful, thank you. If anyone doesn't know, Open Heart, we're not for profit. Marianne Zell, our founder, amazing. What she wants to do is bring yogurt. We should bring yogurt to the community.
Have yogurt there too.
It is vegan yogurt, by the way. Wants to bring yoga, because again, you talk about movement and health. So for everyone who purchases a class, we give away a class. And Tigger House is what we have 10 not-for-profit community, our partners in the community, 180 Turning Lives Around, Lunch Break, Tigger House, so that people who, in their tight budget, maybe that's not something they can afford, that they can come take yoga, because we know, what wellness and healing benefits it has. So Kayla, thank you. So is there another not-for-profit that you're involved with that you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah. So I actually been involved with nonprofits for a couple of years now. When I was an undergrad, I worked for one for a couple of years. And then when I graduated, I kind of stepped away from that. And I started doing some work with Autism Speaks while working 2 jobs in grad school, and it was a lot. So now with Tigger House, and Christina got me involved with Applaud Our Kids, so I'm doing that. Another ambassador got me involved with SPTS. I don't know if you're aware of the Society for the Prevention of Teen Suicide.
Yes, I am actually. That's awesome. And Michael, so you met Carla through the Beauty Foundation, and it sounds like you do a lot of volunteer work as well.
Yeah, so fortunately, Carla introduced me to the Tigger House. We also met when I was undergrad. I was hosting events at Villanova where I went for the Beauty Foundation in New Jersey. So I was able to get involved in that. But recently, I also joined another non-for-profit, Tri-County Scholarship Fund, which is located in northern New Jersey and parts of Long Island, which helps award qualified students for either athletic or educational scholarships when they're in financial need. And just to see like the firsthand like process of how rewarding it is when someone's able to get a scholarship and we help them fulfill that, it just feels great.
Yeah, I mean, education is, we had, the United Way did a panel last, I want to say the end of the summer, and was talking about, career and education and wellness, and of those buckets. And I thought, my mother was so, was all about education that, the better educated you are, obviously gives you, and look, your education, maybe you want to be a painter, maybe, in mall management, we had all different types of careers within the mall, and we needed, someone to do landscaping and maintenance, or the mall wouldn't run. So it doesn't always mean, attorneys and accountants and bankers, but being educated in something that you can then take that experience and, be able to have a career, hopefully in what you love. But, what got me involved with the BASI, Michael, when you're talking about scholarships, like I just thought you go see a show at the BASI, but their education program that they have, and that the kids who have talent, be it in sports or arts, can then take that and get a scholarship and, further their education. So I love that. It's so important. And I think Amy, I don't think we heard from you about another not-for-profit.
So I have worked for nonprofits all my life. I spent.
Thank you for that.
Yes, I was at 180 Turning Lives Around. Oh. I was at Monmouth Daycare Center. Now I'm with Tigger House. My extracurricular nonprofit these days, my family, we are a foster family through the SPCA. We foster kittens. So.
That's wonderful. How many do you have in the house?
Currently, we have 3.
Okay.
So we had
And-
a mama and her babies. They came to us when they were 4 days old. And we just returned the mama. So she's on the adoption floor now. And we have her 3 babies remaining. We'll probably have them for another 5 weeks.
That's awesome. Great organization. Barbara Ross over there. They were we have over 20 Yulin dogs throughout Mama County that we sponsored and brought back, Yulin survivors, and Mama County SPCA was Safe Haven, because I brought like 7 home and then 9 home. And I've got 4 dogs. I couldn't have them all at the house. And so they were a safe haven to then find, families for those dogs, and amazing. And I text these people, I talk to them at least once a month, how they're doing with their pup, but the foster program's amazing, helps us then be able to bring more animals in through the shelter. Yeah. So Carly, you were the last one.
Yes. I'll be honest, right now, my focus is Tigger House Foundation and any not-for-profit that we are involved in. But definitely I have Lunch Break on my radar. I worked for Riverview Medical Center for 5 years prior to joining Tigger House, as well as my full-time job at Seacrest Recovery Center. And I was on the board of Care to Give at Riverview.
Oh, that's great.
When I was managing the operating room most recently there. So really,
So Stephanie Reynolds?
Yes, I love Dr. Reynolds.
That's who I took for spa day Saturday. That's why I didn't get to see Dan and Kira or the people who brought in the bags, but she's amazing.
Honestly, that was my guess who you took to the spa.
She and her daughter Kaylee, who's a miracle story in itself.
Yeah, Kaylee spoke to our students a few weeks ago, Robin.
Oh,
she was amazing. She did a great job. So our students know she shared her story.
Yeah, Kaylee shared her story, and that night she also, I think it was that night, she also shared with us that she will be doing the Jersey Girl Triathlon, and she felt up to it. So I'm joining her.
That's awesome.
And I'm really excited to do that because I just love the vibe that she brings and everyone around her, and I'm happy to do that. So I'm excited, but I got to get my butt into a little bit better shape.
You'll do it, Carly. You'll do it.
I know, keeping up with those. Listen, this has been so rewarding. Someone used that word tonight, and it's perfect for me this evening. I cannot thank you enough for inviting me into your group here. It was great. It's really a true joy in my life is sharing experiences and speaking with others. So you will definitely see me again. And I hope to see all of you at some point that's not through a computer screen. But thank you so very much. And thank you for the work you're doing at Tigger House. It's so important.
Robin, thank you. This was awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining on. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see everyone soon.